Welcome everyone to the Get the Skinny on Beachbody weekly chat. Tonight we are talking about excuses, and it seems apropos because most of our panel members had one excuse or another for why they could be here. But my good friend Shelley Kraft and our regular contributor, Amethyst, are both here, and I think we're going to be able to handle this conversation just fine.
I have no trouble talking.
So once again, we're talking about excuses, and excuses are as numerous as they say as behinds. Shelley would probably use the A word. No. But they are as numerous as there are people on this earth, and we use excuses for lots of different things. But in the coaching world, we deal with lots of excuses, and for me at least, everyone, Shelley's going to give her opinion, but for me at least, excuses boil down to excuses not to take care of ourselves, excuses not to get proper nutrition, excuses not to work out or to eat clean or to control your portions or whatever the case may be, in terms of lifestyle changes that people are thinking about making but constantly make excuses not to do, really comes down to and most people don't really kind of bring it down to this level, but it really comes down to a basic lack of an ability to put oneself first and ultimately to truly love oneself. So we're going to kind of break this down and talk about what, maybe some crazy excuses we've heard, or what excuses making means to us. But, for me, that's when it comes to our health and health coaching and life in general, not putting ourselves first and not taking care of ourselves, when we know that we should, and constantly making excuses not to do it, it really boils down to what I've already said, but there's lots more to be said about the subject. And so I'm going to let Shelley say her piece, and that's going to spark some conversation. And Amethyst, feel free to jump in anytime you like.
Yes, please. Now, to add to what you said about the base reason why people make excuses, I think to take that a step further is the comfort level. Like, right or wrong, we get comfortable with the way that things are, and changing that can be really scary. And that's, to me, why having a coach is so important, because you're not making those changes on your own. So that kind of helps get rid of some of those excuses. To me, as a coach, the excuses I hear the most are time, money, and just lack of knowledge. But for me, I think back to 5 years ago when I was a 2-pack-a-day smoker. I found a way to get my cigarettes. It didn't matter. I would be looking under the couch cushions for change. If it was important, I was going to find a way. And at that time, that was something that I had to do every day. I thought, and the thought of not having that security blanket. Well, what if I get upset and I can't go smoke a cigarette? I'm going to deal with it. That's what I'm going to do. Right. So it's kind of like finding different. And it's interesting, just as a side note with that, I've kind of discovered that, to me, it wasn't so much the smoking as the 5-minute timeout. Because I could, I didn't smoke around my kids, so I could remove myself and just be like, okay, I'm calming down now. So once I learned it's okay to walk away, you don't have to be doing anything other than breathing, and it works with that. And I really haven't had as many episodes like that since I've been taking better care of myself. It's a mental thing as well as a physical thing. When you exercise daily, I know I shared about my depression, the exercise does tons to help with that. So to me, it's more mental than people think it is. So that
Right.
was that. And just trying to break out of the habits that we form, whether it's eating fast food or whether it's you get into the habit of, on my way to work, I'm going to pick up a 6-pack of donuts and a coffee, and then all of a sudden you have to change your habit. That, well, I can't eat that every day. Well, now it's time to change that.
Yeah, what you're saying is so very true, and I find that a lot of people also justify their excuses for not taking care of themselves because, depending on their age, if they're depending on their age, they may still be in that false sense, what I call the false sense of security stage, where they still have that youthful sense of immortality, and they're not really feeling or noticing, in a really sort of demonstrative way, how the food, for example, they're eating is affecting their overall health. And there's this I don't know, there's this kind of acceptance in society today that certain things that used to be rare, like acid reflux, chronic sinus infections, breathing problems, stomach problems, digestive problems, that those used to be rare when people ate correctly, before the sort of the era of the processed food era, that started around the turn of the century, or the last century, I should say. But now those things are considered normal, and part of that is driven by retail pharmacy, because you walk into a retail pharmacy, you walk into retail pharmacy and you see all these over-the-counter medicines for these things, these conditions that are considered normal, and they're not normal, but the culture, the culture educates us to believe that they are. So when you, for example, say to someone, well, this product that I drink every day could support your ability to get over some of these things, they're not as motivated. They're more motivated to make an excuse about not wanting to do it, because, oh, well, this is normal, what I'm experiencing. Everybody I know has these problems. So, some of these excuses are driven by, I guess, for lack of a better way of putting it, sort of like, well, it's common knowledge that everybody, has these issues. It's kind of like, just a given. So that's a battle that I fight a lot, with, not a battle, but it's a struggle. Yeah, it's a struggle, to sometimes open people's eyes to the fact that this is not normal. Because I'm a little bit older than you are, Shell, and when I was a kid, these conditions, acid reflux, sinus infections, irritable bowel syndrome, these things did not exist. They were not common problems.
Well, that's what's funny, because I was 14, so that would have been 1989 when I was diagnosed with IBS. And back then they called it spastic colon, because we used to call things.
Oh, I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, there wasn't any of this IBS and spastic colon, I was like, oh my God. But back then, like, I'd say that and people looked at me like I had 10 heads. Like, what does that, it wasn't anything that anybody else had ever heard of. Mm-hmm. And they told me, like, super duper diet restrictions and stuff. And I dealt with it for years, because I wasn't going to live on dry toast and noodles with nothing on them. It was like all ridiculousness. And so I dealt with it pretty much until I started drinking Shakeology, and that has helped immensely. Like, it's immense difference.
Yeah.
And I think it's even more important to talk about that because nobody really wants to talk about their spastic colon. But to get it out there now that more people are dealing with it, to say, look, why do we want to be slaves to this industry that's just, it's by design. It's, you're going to eat stuff that's not food so that we can get you on this stuff. And I'm not a conspiracy theorist at all, but just noticing when we were growing up, they never advertised prescription medicine.
No.
And I honestly think they shouldn't, because it makes people think they need things that they don't. That should be between you and your doctor, period. You know,
right.
And the fact that there are so many more people suffering with these things is a direct link to what we're putting in our bodies. So, you know, that's, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to go off on a tangent there.
No.
So this to be talking about excuses. But
well,
but like you said, more people, because it's common, it's easy to make an excuse that everybody's doing it. And like I say to my teenagers, that's not a reason. Right. I don't care that everyone else is doing it.
Yeah.
You know,
well, you know, and what you're saying is completely appropriate, because it's what drives the excuses. It's this. It's not just you know. Ultimately, it is. I do not understand that being at my best means that I'm not only taking better care of me, but I can, you know, I can take better care of my family, and I you know, I have a better chance of being around and taking care of them longer, you know, because you know, they rely on me and they depend on me, and you know, like me, I mean, it took me a long, you know, in this business, you know, what a lot of people mean, well, you know, with anything you do in life, there's always a why that drives it. And for a long time, I didn't know what my why was, for wanting, you know, to you know, behind the passion to be a health coach and wanting to spread the good news, that you don't have to be trapped by your health. I mean, there are some things we can absolutely not escape. I mean, I
was just going to say that too. I'm not putting anybody down that has to take a medication for something.
No, totally.
No other alternative. That's not what I mean at all. What I mean is that there are some things that now they make you seem like you can't treat any other way. You have to have it, and maybe you can.
And a lot of that is driven by the fact that doctors are not schooled in nutrition.
Yeah.
That is not something in the 8, 10, 12, 14 years that they go to school, you know, to specialize, depending on their area of specialty. They only get a minuscule, I mean, it's just like a blip on the radar screen, a minuscule amount of education on nutrition. And so they don't look for nutritional causes. They don't look for alternative causes. You know, people rightly or wrongly become reliant on the opinions of their doctors, and they don't seek second opinions. And if they do, they seek them from other doctors, as opposed to, you know, and this is driven by the insurance industry as well, but because they only do what they can afford or what their insurance will cover, but they don't look for alternative explanations by going to an acupuncturist, but for example, or to an herbalist, or, you know, to a variety of different alternative practitioners to find out, you know, if there's another explanation for what's going on, especially if it's something like in my case, you know, 4, 5, 6 years ago, they were repeatedly treating the same way, but it kept coming back. And they finally just threw up their hands and said, we don't know what it is. And until I went to went back to see an acupuncture practitioner, and they suggested alternative explanations for my problems, that's when I finally discovered that food was making me sick.
Yep. And that's what's funny, that you had an acupuncture doctor do that, because that was my story too, with my abdominal pain that I had for 6 years, 24/7. I was in pain. And I went to the primary care. I went to the gynecologist, and they put me in GI. I had a colonoscopy, I had an upper endoscopy, I had CAT scans, I had blood work, I had, I think, 6 or 7 ultrasounds. everything was normal. It's normal. It's normal. So I just was like, it's my normal pain and I'm going to deal with it the rest of my life. I made the excuse because no one could figure it out. And I finally went and saw an acupuncture doctor because at that point I would have seen a veterinarian if they could make the pain stop, you know, like I didn't care.
Right. Yeah.
And within 10 minutes, he was like, you have tendonitis in your hip flexor, and treated it. And within a month it was gone.
Yeah.
It was like a miracle. But I was one of those people too that I thought all that stuff is all woo woo, you know, and like it's not. But no, absolutely, it's at least worth exploring. I wouldn't say it could cure it, but at least check it out, you know?
Yeah. I mean, it's hard to argue with 2,000 years of Chinese medicine, but, you know, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to work for everyone.
Right.
But you know, I myself had a, you know, was getting off a little bit off track, but you know, I had chronic pain. It was from a flag football injury that I got when I was playing flag football, when I met my husband. I tore something in my shoulder, never had it, you know, diagnosed or looked at, never did anything about it. And I had chronic pain in that shoulder for years and years and years. And finally, my hairdresser in New Hampshire said that her menopause symptoms had been cured by this woman who had an acupuncture practice nearby. I said, well, you know, at this point, I do not want to be a 60, 65, 70-year-old woman and, you know, be an invalid. So I will try anything. At that time, I was probably in my late 40s, but, you know, I said, so I went, and this woman treated me with electro acupuncture for, I think it was 3 or 4 treatments, and I haven't had a single problem since.
Isn't it amazing?
So,
and the thing that, I'm sorry, again.
No, I'm good.
No, I was just going to say, like, when we were talking about a lot of the excuses being driven because we're a culture of pharmaceuticals and insurance and stuff, that I was just sitting here thinking about the entire list of things that I had done, and thank God it was covered by insurance. But the fact that my insurance company will cover exploratory laparoscopic surgery, but not acupuncture. Right. Like, something's wrong there. They should, you know. Yeah. But I'll gladly pay out of pocket. I'll be looking under the couch cushions for change to do that because it's important and there's no excuse. But people, like I said, they get comfortable, and it's so much easier to come up with excuses and make a change. And I'm just letting you guys know, as somebody that was like that, I was the queen of excuses. It's so much better on the other side. I feel so much better. And now I make excuses for my excuses. Like in the morning, believe me, I'm not some fitness guru, woo-woo, let's go work out. I do it because I want to be around to see my grandkids today. No time to, but I want to say, you know, I want to have a long and healthy life. And I think about those things. So that's my excuse to work out and to eat well. So.
Yeah. And, you know, it's very frustrating. You know, it is frustrating for me, and it is, I'm sure it is for you, because we know that I mean, it's not just the two of us here. I mean, there are thousands and thousands upon thousands of people who, you know, use Beachbody products in one combination or another, who have transformed their health, and you know, being supported by the products, and it's sometimes, you know, frustrating, especially when you know people that are suffering, and they have seen your transformation, but they're still making excuses about why they can't do it. And it usually, you know, the most common one you mentioned at the beginning is money. And it's mostly women who make the money excuse. Some men do, but mostly women make the money excuse. And you know, I just had a conversation today with someone who we were talking about this, and it's because there's this culture, you know, kind of a mom culture, where we have to sacrifice absolutely everything, including ourselves, and for our kids, our family, our communities. you name it, and to do anything that is good for us before the good of anyone else is selfish.
Right.
And that is, I think, it's partially wired into our DNA as mothers, nurturers, but it's also, I believe, driven by the culture, because we live in a culture where scientifically and medically and nutritionally, a lot of things are possible.
Yeah.
They weren't possible years ago. But a lot of the answers to our problems are hidden from us. Thank God for Beachbody, because there's so many quick fix diet, nutrition and exercise short-term fixes out there, and people constantly try these things, and they don't have success for one reason or another, and then when they're confronted with something that actually has a really good chance of working, especially when they can partner with a coach who's going to be with them every step of the way, who's going to motivate, support, encourage, hold them accountable. In addition, to products that are proven, have a proven track record. It's hard for people to wrap their brains around that, because they've tried so many things that aren't really designed to work.
Right.
Ultimately, at least not for the long term.
And that's what I keep trying to get across to the people that I talk to, is it's not a quick fix, it's a lifestyle change. And that makes it, I can understand, it makes it even more scary, because, well, what do you mean? It's not just I take a pill for a week and I get what I want, and then 2 weeks later it all comes back, and I'm, that's the problem with those kinds of things, is they don't last.
Right.
Where a daily 4 or 5 days a week, not everyone's a crazy person like me, but workout and, and it's funny because as much as I'm, like I said before, I'm not naturally inclined to get up and exercise. I have the argument with myself every single morning. And as I'm getting changed into my workout clothes, my brain's telling me every reason why I don't have to do it today, but I just keep moving. I go downstairs anyway. But the nutrition, I do 80-20, because that I know I couldn't do 100% of the time. I'm not designed that way. I need my nachos, and it's all good because it's a lifestyle. It's not, we'll do this for 3 weeks and then we'll just never exercise again. It's changing the way that you look at how you take care of yourself. And I can see the difference, but even more so, I can feel the difference.
Right. Yeah, I quite often forget now that I'm 58, 57, going on 58 years old.
Mm-hmm.
I feel younger than I did 15 years ago, and I don't give a thought. I mean, because I've combined the nutrition and the clean eating and the exercise like you have, Shelley. I don't give a thought to. Like when I was at Lisa's, my sister-in-law's, this last week, helping them clean out their house, I didn't think twice about lifting things I shouldn't lift, I was lifting them the right ways, but I can do it because I'm strong and I have the muscles to do it now. And, I didn't get tired, and I didn't, get dogged. I mean, I had all the energy and the strength to do it, and mentally too. I mean, people discount the mental health. I used to suffer chronically from anxiety and depression. I suffered for 10 years. It started with a car accident. I damaged my brain. It took a long time for my brain to heal, but I suffered chronically with it, and this journey, especially with the Shakeology, but everything else as well, really supported me getting off my medication and becoming well.
Yeah. And that's with me. I've been dealing with depression since I was 12, and there's been some very dark times in my life. But since I've started the exercise and taking care of myself. And on top of that, having the community that I know has my back. If I'm, I still have bad days. I'm not going to act like this is made it so I never feel depressed ever again, but I can, I have the tools to deal with it. And I have the community that I can say, guys, I feel like crap. And everybody's like very supportive, and I can be myself and not have to pretend that I'm, some perfect workouts machine, it's
yeah. Well, that's
me.
Yeah, I know, no, and yeah, I love that, because it's, a lot of people don't. I think a lot of people choose not to be Beachbody coaches or to be health coaches in general because they think you have to be perfect. That's another excuse they use. Well, I can't do this because I don't have the perfect body. I still smoke, or I still, like to eat nachos, or I still, I'm just not, yeah, right. I don't want to, pick on you totally. I have a hard time, finding something for me, because I've had to give up a lot of foods, not out of choice. Like, I didn't say I don't eat this and I don't eat that anymore, but because as the years have gone by, I've developed so many food allergies. So in a way, it's been easy for me to eat clean, easier than most people, because I've had to make those choices because my body just says, nope, you're not eating that anymore. I do occasionally cheat with certain foods that make me sick, because sometimes I just want to have, I don't do it with fish because that's horrible. It makes me feel horrible, but there's just certain things that I still will occasionally, like corn bothers me. So sometimes I just want I want a Dorito, so I eat one, even though I know I'm going to get stuffed up and it's going to upset my stomach. But it's been easier for me to give things up than most people, because I've kind of been maneuvered by my biology that way, right? But
well, it's interesting too, because even without having allergies, just changing, and as a family, we've changed. Like 10 years ago, we used to order from the pizza place 3 times a week, and this. And we don't do fast food at all anymore, and we haven't for years. But the other day we're like, let's just get stuff from the pizza place. We don't feel like eating. Oh my God. My body was like, you don't eat this anymore. Nope. Yeah. And it was as much as it could reject it and keep it in my body was how it was. It hurt so bad. And I'm like, okay, I guess that's on the no list now.
Yeah. Yeah. It's fun. Yeah. Well, it's funny and it's not funny, but yeah, your body will talk to you, when you clean up your act for the most part, and you eat something, certain things, your body will go, what the hell did you just do to me?
But in a way, that's good, because that takes away that excuse. Like, it's not, well, I don't have time to cook, so I'm going to order from the pizza place. I can't order from the pizza place. I better find something to cook.
Yeah.
And with the crock pot stuff this week, that took care of that excuse, because it's already ready already.
Very cool. Very, very cool. Yeah, but again, we don't have to be. We're not expected to be perfect. We don't have to be perfect. It's okay not to work out every day. It's okay to follow the 80-20 rule. It's okay not to be like rail thin. We're real people. We're real people. For me, the most important thing is to create that health from the inside out. I read something funny that I wrote, where you get those Facebook memories, but I said I wanted, I don't know what it's from. It was like from 4, 5, 6 years ago or something, but it was something about how I wanted to be, with the things that I missed. And one of the things I missed was not being able to wear size 8 clothes anymore. Well, I'm here today to tell you that I don't care if I ever wear a size 8 again. It's more important to me, because of my personal journey, to be healthy than it is to ever get into a size 8. Dropping 4 sizes, in 2 years, that's enough for me. And if I drop another size, great, but that's not my ultimate goal. My ultimate goal is not to be encumbered by illness. Not to have my ailments be the only thing that I have to talk about, in my old age, or the only. What's that?
I said that's a good one, because I just picture the old people on the bench in the park that are arguing over who has the most medical problems.
Yeah. So, but
that's a good goal.
I don't know what happened to our countdown timer. It said we were down below 10 minutes, but.
Okay, yeah, I don't have a timer.
Yeah, I don't see it either. Maybe it'll pop up here at some point. But
Hi, Lisa.
Your microphone's off. There we go.
Hello.
Hello. Your bedroom's looking pretty snazzy.
My bedroom is looking amazing. Okay.
No excuses there. Woo! How about that?
I have a place where I can walk in. I have a whole place where I can lay down. It is amazing. Absolutely amazing. My child just walked in and said, "Mom, did you throw away my Sonic uniforms? They can't find anything. They're all gone." It's
I never saw the Sonic uniforms, but anyway.
They're in that back. We covered them up with stuff that needed to go up to the attic.
Oh, okay. All right. So, do you have any words of wisdom about excuses, Lisa? I don't know how much time we have left. I know we're under.
I've got a real quick one. I'll be really super quick, and I sincerely apologize for all my excuses tonight for not being here on time. It was not that I had so much to do. It was my time management was off, and it's whacked, and all I can do is fix it. So that's what we'll do, and that's what I wanted to say. Excuses take a lot of time. If you want to save time, don't make excuses, just do it. I got schooled in that this last 4 days. I have been I'm making excuses. I'm tired. I have so much to do. I have to be on that conference call, all that stuff, all of it for months. I mean, we decided this almost last year. Mm-hmm. He said, "I will come in October if you promise me you won't call me at the last minute and tell me not to come." And I did absolutely nothing, or whatever I did got buried. And boom, 4 days. And I stood there that first day and went, and you said, "Grab a box." It didn't matter what it was. If going into action, right, instead of taking the time to make the excuses, figuring out, looking for just anything, even if you're worried about doing an action that is going to limit your choices as you go along, then do something. Exercise. Go have a shake. How many times did we do that? What do we do next? Lisa, go have your shake. You're feeling peckish. It was like a Snickers moment.
Yes.
But doing something, going into action, then the mode shifts and action mode begins. And it's amazing how you can see you can see clearer when you don't have the excuses. You have more time when you're in action. It's amazing. It's something that's hard to describe because it is nonverbal. So as somebody who has wasted most of their life by worrying, has made more excuses than you can put in the big old hat from Harry Potter, it was just an amazing experience to go into action and do it. It's not going to change me right away. There are things, but I'm going to be aware of when this stuff happens. And so help me, anybody puts anything down on one of my flat areas, it's getting moved. I'm not excusing to say, "Oh, I understand. We put this down here because we've come home from work." No, I'm going to pick it up. I'm going to put it where it needs to be right then, going into action.
Excellent.
Did the timer pop up on yours too?
Yes, yes.
Okay. I was gonna say I have it if you don't. But no, that's good, Lisa, and I'm proud of you. I'm very proud of the progress that you made.
Well,
'cause
I
I know
thank
it's
you for
hard,
your support.
but
Y'all
every
have
step
really
in the right
supported.
direction counts. And that's what we were talking about. It doesn't have to be an overnight change. It doesn't have to be a complete 180 in 24 hours. If we're making steps, it's a journey.
Yep. Okay. All right. Well, I think tonight we've discovered that that above all, and making excuses is not a positive thing. I can't think of any situation where making an excuse is a positive, unless, of course, you're making one to save maybe hurting someone's feelings. But even then, you're not being truthful. So at the end of the day, is that good or bad? But we've discovered that the excuses are big time wasters. And a lot of people make excuses for not accomplishing their goals, not being successful, not being able to get from point A to point B, and making all of those excuses not only wasted all the time that they could have been working towards their goals or becoming successful or getting from point A to point B, but it actually, at the end of the day, is the reason, the underpinning for their lack of success. So, and we talked about how it's frustrating, especially in the health and wellness world, to hear people's excuses when we know that we have so much to offer them and can help them, but ultimately no one is going to go on this journey until they're ready, and we make a connection with them, and and they decide that they want to become part of our tribe and go along on the ride with us because we've earned their trust, and they've seen us walk our talk. So until we do establish those connections and with people, we'll continue to hear a lot of excuses and suffer frustration. But it's all for a good cause, because at the end of the day, those people that we are able to help, means that ultimately those people are going to be able to live to their full potential and do what it is that they've been put on this earth to do. And that is something truly, truly amazing.
Absolutely.
So any quick closing words before we come to an end and go to the after party? Whoop, whoop.
No, I think I talked enough.
Well, yeah, I think we had a really great conversation tonight. We kind of went all over the place and covered a lot of stuff.